What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today, I'm going to give you an overview of what happened with SoFi, go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 1.47%, 15.35 the low, 15.90 the high. So quite a volatile day. At the same time, you did see very low volume. So 29.1 million shares being traded, 45.4 is the average. Big money has been rotating out of SoFi and a lot of other growth stocks over the last couple of trading days. Also, institutions have been rebalancing, and since SoFi has gone up a lot in comparison to its peers, this is why you are seeing some entities selling SoFi. So that's kind of what is resulting in the downward trend and just abnormally low volume. But aside from that, no actual news associated to SoFi, no SEC filings, nothing like that. You did have shorts very quiet today. So they returned roughly around 16,000 shares. 12.95% of the free float is being shorted, worked out to be 137.7 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum once again popping back up as negative. Nothing really crazy because that's an annual rate on a side note, so kind of just be aware of that. But today is the last day in 2024, so hopefully 2025 will be bigger and better for SoFi. But that being said, SoFi will be announcing most likely in the next week the date of their Q4 earnings. So in general, we've already known in the past historically, like it runs up leading to SoFi's earnings, and then dependent on the results, usually 9 times out of 10 it kind of pulls back, with the exception of the last earnings. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Maybe that might prompt a potential run. But aside from that though, there was 13 million in calls, 3.12 million in puts. 50% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. Had a lot of big money clearly betting on a little bit more downside. Even just looking at the overall volume, it is a little bit lower. So the average was roughly around 30 mil for a daily for options, and then it went down to 25, and yeah, today overall 16. So definitely not the best kind of chain of events, but like I said, I think this pullback was somewhat anticipated, as I mentioned on my video on Sunday. But aside from that, of the call options that were purchased, you still do see some optimism, but it is kind of diminishing. So likelihood of 1750 is somewhat off the table. So consensus for it to be above 1650/17 is kind of good still, I think, in reality. The bears, though, they are anticipating for it to be sub roughly 15/1450. So still a little bit more upside. This stood out as a very big one. So for January 17th, 2025, there was 12,000 purchased at that $13 strike price. So of course, there is a little bit more downside anticipated. And it wasn't just SoFi that kind of got this bearish option. A lot of growth stocks got these abnormal transactions, insinuating more of a 15 to 20% pullback from current market prices. So once again, options activity doesn't necessarily move the stock price. It is just more of a sentiment. But if you are following what big money is doing, that's definitely something to take note of. Aside from that, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So fairly low. And this has been one thing that I've been stating is, even though like big money is still interested in SoFi, the frequency is down considerably. And even based on a lot of these transactions, a good chunk of them are sells. So not the best chain of events, but like I said, I think the writing was on the wall. Some people didn't really want to listen to that or kind of agree, but it is what it is. A couple big ones, 3.87, that was a buy, and also another buy of 1.43 million. So at least some entities are buying SoFi or buying the dip. But with it closing at $15.40, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 1594 is going to be that next strong target / resistance. Kind of bounce off of that general area for the high. And then 1536 is going to be that next strong support. And conveniently, it did bounce off that general area for the low. So it is kind of just following the technicals, and pretty much this whole week, with the exception of Friday, is going to be following the technicals. Market is closed tomorrow, so just be aware of that. Happy New Year and all the whole shebang and stuff like that. But aside from that, no new analyst ratings, nothing along those lines. So hopefully we'll have some maybe ratings leading into the Q4 earnings. SoFi has been one of those very weird stocks that somehow gets analyst ratings before their earnings. The last 2 or possibly even 3 earnings, they've had like 2 or 3 ratings. Doesn't logically make sense whatsoever, but that does happen. So maybe you could see some bullishness as a byproduct. But currently a consensus of $11.38. So kind of downside of 26%. And the reason why it's so low is a lot of these kind of lower ratings are just dragging it down. But aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, so it is below the ALMA, so insinuating more consolidation, and just generally looking at the chart, since it did fail to kind of create higher highs, this is going to be something to really watch for, is this low. So roughly around that 1460. So if it does break below that, and then of course the super trend, then this is where you could see kind of more significant downside. So yeah, I think SoFi's had a fairly good run alongside many stocks, but as of at least the last couple of days, there's been a lot of consolidation. So I think everyone and their dog is going to be really watching what happens next. Is it just tax loss selling and just some kind of rebalancing? That's what's causing some downside, or does big money truly feel that there is legitimate possible concern at these levels or something else? So I think we'll just have to wait and see on Thursday to kind of how the market does play out. But even prior to these last couple of days, for those of you that have been kind of watching my channel, even on the weekend, the reason why I did insinuate for this week for it to be somewhat red is because there has been less and less institutions buying SoFi. So I think for SoFi, big money's been somewhat taking a step back for a while now. Nothing against SoFi, but I think just a lot of stocks have ran up quite considerably. And once again, whether some people agree with it or not, some people are starting to look at, and big money is looking at the PE, the multiples, and just to see if it's realistic for these prices. So that's just my 2 cents on what is really influencing SoFi. Obviously, you guys do whatever floats your boat. Let me know your thoughts. Did you buy? Did you sell? Did you dabble with options? I myself didn't do anything with options so far this week. If it does dip a little bit further, maybe I'll be more committed to sell, let's say $14.50, possibly even $15 puts for this Friday, and maybe start doing some covered calls around that $15.50/$16 range. That's kind of the parameters maybe I would be looking at. But let me know your viewpoint. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon, link in the description below and also the comments. I give buy signals on stocks, options, and crypto. Many of them have been absolute bangers, so pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.